Hello, parents. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We Next Gen Parent, the group Next Gen Parent is here live today. I welcome each and everyone. I welcome each and everyone for this show. Today we have a special guest with us, that is Aisha Al-Hajjar. So she is an American Certified Professional Midwife. She's been training through her lectures and speeches. She's been training a lot of parents, expectant parents, and also AMANI Birth teachers. She is raising public awareness of normal physiologic birth. Her articles are translated into different languages around the world. Her midwifery programs are famous worldwide. Being the founder of AMANI Birth, she has completed her bachelor's and master's of science in midwifery at Midwives College of Utah. So I welcome you also, Aisha, Sister Aisha, to this particular workshop that we have. It's all about early motherhood. Walaikum salam wa
Yes,
rahmatullah.
welcome. I'm quite pleased to be here. I appreciate being able to speak to your audience and to meet people that I have never had the opportunity to reach before. So thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for being there. Can you just tell me, Aisha, what was the journey about? Why did you choose this topic as your career? What
Well,
made you?
I have to say it's quite interesting because I never thought that I would be, speaking worldwide and traveling the world and talking to doctors and about normal physiologic birth and working with mothers. It basically goes back to my own personal journey having children. I'm a mother of 8. May Allah bless them all and all of your children as well. And I would say I was lucky to be American. Not that America is such a great place. I mean, it is or it isn't, but however you want to look at it. But the point is that in my culture, when a woman would get pregnant, she would go to a childbirth class and she would learn about what to expect and she would learn what her options are and she would have intelligent conversations with her care provider about how she wanted her birth journey to go, what she did and didn't want of all of the different things that are offered in a hospital. And that was just what you did. You got pregnant, you took a class, and then you went and talked to your doctor. And when I moved overseas, I had a baby in Egypt and then later in Saudi Arabia. So I had 5 babies in America, then I had 1 in Egypt, and I had 2 in Saudi Arabia. I realized that that's not the way it is all around the world. And many women were going into childbirth not having any information about what to expect, didn't know their options. A lot of routine practices that are done in hospitals are optional at best and harmful at worst. And it's not that doctors are bad people and that they're trying to harm patients. It's just that the routines that they do sometimes are more harmful, do more harm than good. And if we could learn as women to trust that we were built to give birth and to trust the normal physiology of birth, birth goes much better. The less that we do to a mother, actually, the safer the birth is. As long as we have someone there who understands what a complication is, who can recognize a complication, who can act on that. But the problem is when we treat every woman as if they're a complication when they're not a complication, that actually causes more complications. So I was kind of heartbroken to see that women were going in not knowing what to expect and just accepting so many interventions that weren't even necessary, that it was causing them trauma. And I always say that birth is on a continuum from trauma to empowering. And very few women land in the middle of that continuum. So you either are going to have a traumatic birth or you're going to have an empowering one. There's not too much in between. And if you poll women, most of them are having trauma. And that has become the community norm. And we accept that. And woman after woman after woman has trauma. She comes out of the birth room confused and traumatized. And all the other women are saying, just get over it. That's life. It's not supposed to be that way, guys. It's not supposed to be traumatic. Birth is an empowering experience. It is the most invigorating, amazing day of your life if you're educated, prepared, and supported. And so that became my mission. I didn't want women to come out of birth having trauma when this should be the most invigorating day of your life. We shouldn't be fearing birth, and with knowledge comes power. And with preparation, you can do it. You can do birth in a more normal physiologic way. And I think that that's something that every woman deserves.
Exactly. And that's how we have been designed by the creator also.
Absolutely.
That is, yeah.
I don't care what your
being the mother of 8.
Your body was built to give birth. That if
We
you
have it
boil
by
down,
default.
if you boil down the basic female function, and I'm not saying that women are only good for giving birth, but what I'm saying is if you boil down the basic function of the female body, it is to conceive,
Yes.
carry, birth, and feed the next generation. That is our biological function, and we're having that taken away from us by being told in the media and in the cultures around the world that you can't give birth unless someone cuts you, that you can't give birth unless someone drugs you, that you can't feed your baby, you have to give them a man-made formula. You know, we are making women second guess their actual natural biology.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
true.
you don't
Yeah,
see
yeah,
any animal in the wild worrying about whether or not they can give birth or nurse their baby, right?
yes,
They just give birth and nurse their
absolutely.
baby. You know,
Amazing
and
thoughts. Yes.
yeah.
Seriously, that's an amazing thought, Raisha. I really, I appreciate managing all your 8 children along with these tasks also about the society, the concern that you have. That's really amazing. Why do
I
you
have to
think?
say, I was just gonna have to say I couldn't do any other work because when you know what I know, you cannot do anything else. Like you cannot
Yes,
watch the trauma and not speak up about it. So
yes, exactly. That shows how much of concern you have towards the society, the people around you, and that the traumatic situation that maybe when the experiences uh, led you to choose this particular option.
yeah, I believe that the option that this career path came to me. I didn't come to it. It came to me. You know,
Yes,
it's a calling.
that's correct.
It's
Yeah,
something I have to do. So
yes. So, why do you think parents need to know about this childbirth? What
because if
happens?
you
What are the
don't know,
changes they look like?
yeah, if you don't know, then you're going to go into it in fear. And fear is actually your own worst enemy. And fear will actually cause you to have complications. Because you have to understand your hormones are what drives birth. And your hormones are driven or attached to your emotions. So if your emotions are those of fear and upset and distress, then your body is going to be producing the hormones that make birth almost impossible, right? And then you do need drugs and surgeries because your own body is preventing you from dropping the baby. If you think about a cat who's in labor, okay, and let's say a predator, a dog comes, she's going to get a rush of an adrenaline hormone that's going to raise her blood pressure, that's going to give her strength, that's going to dilate her pupils, that's going to close her cervix so her babies don't fall out while she is fighting the dog or running away from the dog. We call it the fight or
Yes.
flight hormone, adrenaline. If you are a woman who fears birth, you have the same hormone that's going to keep your body closed because you don't feel safe. You're not going to drop your baby. It becomes almost physically impossible. So then our doctors are there to give you artificial hormones, which then can put your baby in distress, which then leads them to, well, let's cut you open and get your baby out. So fear is your own worst enemy, right? And with knowledge comes power. And if you understand the process of birth and you go into it without fearing it, and you understand how to mitigate the fears, and you have a partner with you. I love to get dads involved, by the way. I'm a big proponent for having dads involved. If not the dad, then her mother, her sister, her auntie. She needs somebody. And this is why I also train professional doulas. They are professional aunties. They go with you to birth and they hold your hand through the birth. And they've been there and they've done that, and they're able to keep you calm and they're able to keep you focused. We can do so much more for a woman in labor if we give her the right support. And I don't mean medical support. I mean her emotional support and her confidence support. That's going to do more for her birth than any drug they can ever give you in the hospital, because it'll help you have the right hormones flow, and then you'll have a smoother birth. And this is why I train professional doulas. This is why when I teach women in the community to be birth supporters, I'm teaching them to be childbirth educators, AMANI Birth childbirth educators, and doulas. They then educate the mother and her chosen companion, whether that be her husband or her mother or whomever. And they also offer their support in the labor room where they can. You know, sometimes, you know, the hospital might not let them in or whatever, but wherever they're allowed in and the mother wants them in, then they're going in and doing that as well. And it's not a clinical role. It's not a midwifery role. It's a role of support person. And so mothers need the knowledge, which reduces the fears, which gives them the understanding of their options so that they're not bullied into things that might be harmful for them. And, you know, they need to have a support person that they feel comfortable with so that they can just relax and let the proper hormones flow and just give birth to their baby in an empowering way. So, you know, it's super, super important. And I see families go through this journey, and it's like they come to class one and they're like, I don't even know what I want. You know, of course you don't know what you want. You don't know what your options are, right? By the time we finish
Yes.
with them, they know their options. They know what's good for them. They know, you know, when to submit to interventions, because interventions are great when we have complications. So they know when to recognize this is outside of normal and I need help. And they know when it's like, no, thank you. I don't want your episiotomy, and I don't want your epidurals and your pethidine drugs. And, you know, I can do this. I don't need that help. What I need is for my medical team to observe me and, you know, step in if I have complication, but please don't step in if I don't have complication. Let me give birth to my baby, you know. So knowledge is power, and it gives you the confidence to, you know, go through your birth in the most natural way possible. And it's not about having a natural birth. It's about having an empowering birth. I want you to have a natural birth, but that's not feasible for everybody. It's about having an empowering birth where you're having intelligent conversations with your care provider. And like I said, you know when to submit to interventions and you know when to say no, thank you. And that way, if you do need an intervention, even a C-section can be an empowering birth. C-section is traumatic when it happens to you, when you don't know why, and they cut you open and it's like you're just a third party, like you're not even in the room, and they're just like you're just a piece of meat being worked on. But when you have a relationship with your care provider of intelligent conversations, when you really do need a C-section, you're making that decision together with your doctor, and you come out of that knowing you did the right thing. You don't come out wondering what's wrong with my body, am I broken, what happened to me, did they abuse me? You come out knowing that that was what was best for you and your baby. That's empowering. You know you saved your baby. But when you go through that and you don't know why and you're confused, that's traumatic. You know, so this is the difference.
Yeah, I could learn so many things. So what Sister Aisha is starting to resonate so many things with my life as well. You know,
I'm
you
sure.
pushed me right into my labor room.
I know I did. I know I did. And you know, that's not a bad thing. And you know, I really recommend, to be honest with you, every single woman should have the AMANI Birth book. And I'm not saying that because I wrote it. I'm saying it because this is an empowering book that will change your life and the way that you view your own body and the way that you view what your role is in the world, as a mother, as a woman. And there's even, you can see in the background, I even have a version for the dads. I have a quick guide for fathers that helps the dads understand their role in supporting their wife on this journey. You know,
Yeah,
beyond
I
that,
would like all the viewers also to get into the link if you have any, so that, you know, we can add it on the description
yeah, I can
on
put it.
YouTube.
I can put it in
All
the
the
chat. So you
viewers
guys
can,
can pick it up.
yeah. So that's really amazing, Saisha. I would like to ask you one more thing. What do you think are the current challenges every parent, you know, expecting parent has right now?
I think. Well, I mean, are we talking about childbirth? Are we talking about after giving birth? Are we talking about children? What range of space are you talking about? What range of
So
time are
it's
you talking
like, no, once the parent is expecting the child, what are the challenges throughout her journey
Okay,
till
so if
until
we're
she
talking
reaches
about that she's conceived, her number one challenge is to find a care provider that's supportive, right? But before she can find the care provider that's supportive, she has to understand what that means. So I guess I would say the number one challenge is that she's ignorant to the process, and that's not a bad thing. She's a young girl. Of course she's ignorant to the process. She's never done it before. And the only thing that she has to go by are the stories in her community and the media and from her mother and her sisters and the people around her who will only tell her trauma. Trauma sells, so media is going to tell you trauma, right? So trauma sells. Now, on the flip side of that is you've got all of the women who have had their traumas, because that's what most women are experiencing. And so all she's going to hear around her is, oh, the horror, you know. And so she has this dark cloud looming in her future that she calls birth. And she's afraid of it. So the biggest challenge is to look beyond what's in front of you, because what's in front of you is not normal. This is not normal. For birth to be challenged, to be a trauma is not normal. It's the norm we've accepted, but it is not the normal physiology. And so, you know, for her to look beyond and to know that there's something better out there, that there's a different way, and that it's at your fingertips. You just have to find it. You have to search for it and you have to find it. And AMANI Birth is one of the places you can find it. I'm not the only childbirth education program out there, but I'm definitely one of the most thorough. And so at the end of the day, you know, finding something that you can sink your teeth in, that you can learn about, and finding a mentor who will tell you about the empowering pieces of birth, who's not going to, you know, just sit there and tell you, oh, birth is scary. Oh my God, you're going to die. You know, You want to talk to somebody who's going to tell you, birth is amazing, and you can have a vaginal birth after C-section perhaps, and to kind of change your perception, and the light bulb starts going off. You're like, wait a minute, that's not what I know of. What are you talking about? I want to know more about what you're trying to say here, because what you're saying doesn't sound like what I experienced, or what all my friends told me, or what I saw on TV, and what my doctor even tells me. So at the end of the day, it's like the challenge is getting outside of the fog that you're in, and that looming, you're in a storm, and realizing that you can put an umbrella up and protect yourself from the storm. So realizing there's something different is the number one challenge, and then go for it. Don't be afraid. Seek knowledge. Go for it. Read, learn. Get involved with people who know about birth and who can tell you about the empowering birth. I have Meet the Author events every 3 months. Come to one of my Meet the Author events, where they can listen to me talk a little bit more. Attend a childbirth class when you are once you've actually conceived. A lot of people say, well, it's expensive. I don't want to take a childbirth class. Well, you know what? C-section is more expensive, sister. I'm just saying. Yeah. You know what I mean? And what about the emotional toll and the physical toll on your body? That's a heck of a lot more expensive than a childbirth class.
So driving is throughout the life.
Invest in yourself. Yeah, invest in yourself. So exactly. People will spend so much money on the party, on the stroller, on the baby clothes, on painting the baby's room, all this stuff. They'll spend all this money on all this stuff that doesn't really matter. And they won't spend money on the one thing that truly is life-changing, and that's the journey itself, because this is going to affect you as a woman for the rest of your life. And I'm sorry to tell you, it's going to affect your baby and who they are for the rest of their life. You have one chance with this kid to get it right. Right? You have many chances as a woman. You can have baby after baby after baby and finally get it right with baby number 8, maybe, right? But your baby has one chance at a birth experience, and it matters for a lifetime,
Exactly. So both the baby as well as the mother, the mom also should be both secure and also emotionally fit.
The baby deserves to have a gentle birth experience. Yanking a baby out of a woman, immediately cutting its cord, taking it away from the mother, bathing it, weighing it, flipping it over its back, checking its genitals, shoving a gloved finger in its mouth, giving it shots. For this to be his first experience in the world is one where the baby's first understanding of the world is one of fear and stress. And don't think your baby doesn't feel that. And don't think that the hormones of fear and stress are not real in your baby. You hear in the hospital, wah, wah, wah. That's your baby saying, where's my mom? Where's my mom? Where's my mom? Imagine you laugh, but his number one instinct
is to find the breast.
His number one instinct, you should be crying, not laughing. His number one instinct is to find the breast, and you've taken that away from him. Right? Can you imagine, you can't remember it yourself, but can you imagine the fear that's going through that child? Do not think that does not affect his ability to trust the world and to bond with his family. It changes the community. And there is an American Indian proverb that says, if you want to create a tribe of warriors, you traumatize those children at birth. And if you want to create a tribe of peacemakers, you give them a gentle, careful birth, right? So traumatizing someone at birth creates a psyche of war, and coddling someone at birth gives them a psyche of peace. What do you want for your child?
Wow. Incredible thought. That's really nice. So amazing. There are so many things. I could feel that, when the child is born, no sooner the child is born, it is born with stress and trauma everywhere. It could see only nothing but pain around it.
Exactly. And people think this is normal. You guys, that's not normal. That is not normal. Babies should not have stress as their first experience. In fact, I will tell you, my last child, she was born at home. And my husband caught her. She went straight to my breast. It was 45 minutes before we cut the cord. We didn't hear her cry for the first 4 hours of her life. She didn't need to cry. We weren't sure she had a voice, because it took her 4 hours before she finally got upset because she was, had a messy diaper and she was uncomfortable. It took her 4 hours before we heard her voice. You don't have to, traumatize a baby. And a lot of medical providers think they have to hear a cry to know that the baby's breathing. That's not true. Babies can breathe without crying. Now, a baby who's not breathing, who is having trouble, yes, we want to make that baby cry because that will bring the first breath. So yes, if a baby's born and not breathing and having trouble, then we want to make it cry. But a baby who's born and who's breathing and everything is transitioning nicely, there is no reason to make that baby cry. you know? So, you know, baby should be here in the zone, right here with mama. That's where the baby belongs, is right here in mama's chest.
Wow. So, Aisha, what are the things you consider, to have, psychologically a woman needs to have right after her conception, the period of during the conception period?
She needs to have a good supportive partner. And here's where I talk to the husbands and I say, look, brother, it is your job to make her feel safe, loved, and secure. To do everything that you can for her during this pregnancy. She needs you mentally, physically, emotionally. You know, a lot of men, you know, the woman's sick and she's nauseous in the first couple months and it's difficult to keep up the house and maybe, you know, it's hard for her to cook and she's not, you know, performing her wifely duties as diligently as before because she's green, because she's throwing up, you know, she doesn't feel good. And he starts to get frustrated, like, you know, oh, the house is never clean and what is this and what is that? How about if you stop screaming and you pick up a broom? How about if you stop complaining that you don't have food and you bring some takeaway home? Or maybe go in the kitchen and cook. That's a novel idea. You know, you can be a source of support for her, or you can be a source of stress. And let me tell you something, if she's in stress because she's stressing out because you're upset with her because she cannot physically do everything that you want her to do, then what ends up happening? She has stress hormones. And the same stress hormones I was talking about that are detrimental to the birth are detrimental to the pregnancy. And think about this. Hormones flow through my blood. So if I have stress hormones, guess who else is getting stress hormones? The baby. Do you want your baby to understand stress in the womb? This should be the safest place for them. And yet they're getting fed stress hormones because you're being an ogre when you come home from work, right? I get it. You had a long day, but you know what? She's growing a human. She had a pretty tough day too, you know? So maybe if we could learn to support one another, maybe if you could learn to be tender with her at this time, if you recognize what she's going through. And I also tell guys, think about this. You go to work and your life is normal. You might even forget you have a pregnant wife at home because you're out doing your day. She can never forget for one moment. Not only is she building a human and she has to be so careful with everything, like what do I eat and stay away from cigarette smoke and, you know, oh, don't go there because there's, you know, bleach over there and I don't want to get those fumes into my body. And she has to be so careful about, you know, oh my gosh, what if I overexert and then something happens to the baby? Like this is on me 24/7. And I cannot forget for 1 second that I have to go through birth. I cannot forget for 1 second. I don't know how that's going to go. It's, you know, scary. It's unknown. I know I could be hurt. My baby could be hurt. It's stressful. I can't lose that stress for 1 second. Imagine, brother, what that's like. And have some compassion and some support for your wife. And when men recognize that they have a role to play and that how they interact with their wife will affect not only her, but their baby, men will step up. But they need education too. They need education so that they understand the actual how big this is and what their role is so that they can play their role. And this is, I think, the number one thing that the wife needs is a supportive husband. And this is why we have, you can see behind me on the screen there, we have this side, we have the quick guide for fathers, AMANI Birth quick guide for fathers. So the AMANI Birth book is like 30 chapters of information for the mother. That's mind blowing. The father's guide is like, you know, 1 page per mom's chapter. So mom reads chapter 1 and dad reads page 1, bullet point fashion, right? So we give dad just the information he needs to know so that he can understand his role and support his wife. And I tell you what, there's no guy out there who wants to make his wife miserable. He just doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. And so we need to help guys get it so that they can do better for their family. Right? So yes. What does she need? She needs a supportive husband. Right? So
yes.
And not to mention the fact that if she wants to get educated and he doesn't see the value, he may not let her buy a $10 book. $15 book, let alone pay for a childbirth class. Why am I going to pay for a childbirth class? I'm paying a doctor because he doesn't get it. He doesn't get the value. So it's super important that she's got the support that she needs, right? And trust me, you know, investing a little bit in yourself is going to make a huge difference in your life. This is so much more important than the wedding day that people spend so much money on. This is so much more important than going out to dinner, which people do all the time. You know, people spend more money shopping for their hijab or for their shoes than they spend shopping for a doctor or shopping for, you know, shopping around for what they need for their birth. It's like, take this seriously. Be mindful through this process. So, because it has lifelong effects.
That's really nice. That's amazing, Sister Aisha. Even I could sense that only when she has a supportive partner, then exactly. We have right now, in India, usually we have a joint family wherein people
Yes.
stay together. And what do you feel having a joint family and getting this conception? Do you think it is going to have an effect? I mean,
Of course.
is
Well,
it a drawback?
yeah, there's two things to consider. One is it's wonderful that you have the support of extended family, right? But it's only wonderful if that extended family understands, right? So if that extended family accepts trauma as a norm and expects you to accept trauma as a norm, that's when it becomes a problem. So at the end of the day, what we need is for the extended family, if they're going to be involved in the pregnancy journey, and if they're going to be involved in the childbirth journey, they need to be educated as well. So when I say I want to educate the fathers, yes, I want to educate the fathers, but I also want to educate the mother and the mother-in-law and the auntie and the sister. If these people are going to affect your pregnancy journey, they need to read this book too. If these people are going to affect your labor and birth journey, they need to attend the classes too. So we don't want to just educate the mother, but we want to educate the people that surround her, right? Because we're not going to change her culture. We're not going to change her family culture, her family structure. So if we can't do that, then we want everybody who's going to be involved to be as educated as she is, so that everybody understands the decision she's making and everybody can be supporting her through that journey. So it's great to have a mother-in-law involved if she's supportive. It's not so great if she's oppressive, right? So we want to bring everybody on board. And this is her grandbaby. She should want the best for her grandbaby. So if we can't do that. You still with me?
I'm just trying to read out the messages what I have from viewers here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's really nice. So thank you. Thanks a lot, Jazakallah khair, for attending the session, Aisha. It was an amazing session and eye-opener to all of us, because there are so many things that, it was just like a bulb-on moment to all of
Yes.
us.
I know, and I know
so
that
many new
I know your
things.
listeners are probably mostly in India, and I know that your birth culture in India does have a lot of good things. There's a lot of good work being done in India, but there's also still a lot of oppressive practices in the Indian birth culture. So you have a mix there. If you're lucky, you have some if you fall into the right place, you have some really, really supportive birth practices, but they're not spread all the way across your country. So the norm for your women, unfortunately, is trauma. But you're better than some other countries in that you do have some pockets of really supportive, empowering birth practices, but you probably don't even know that. so figuring out that, wait a minute, there's options and there's choices, and maybe I could get something a little bit better than what I expected if I just work a little bit harder for it. But if you just go to the obstetrician next door, chances are that's not the supportive one unless you're lucky, right? Because there's more that are not supportive than are supportive. So you want to really search for those ones that are supportive. And the ones who aren't supportive, I invite them to learn more, because it's just because they don't know. No doctor is not supportive because they're mean. They're not supportive because they've not been introduced to this idea that birth could be empowering. And so it's new for the doctors too, for many of them. And so I invite them as well to learn more and to study. And we have lots of obstetricians that take our program, and it's eye-opening for them, and it changes the way they practice, and it changes the way that they interact with their patients, and it changes communities. And so what changes communities is the awareness. And so what you're doing is you're starting to turn on the awareness. So thank you for that.
Yes. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. You've been doing an amazing job. May Almighty bless you with all His barakah and abundance in all your work that you've been doing. So
Thank you for allowing me to reach an audience that I haven't been able to reach on my own. So thank you for bringing me into your audience. I appreciate that.
Thank you. That's our pleasure. So the light designer, that is such true. Witness a difference after getting educated. Thanks a lot. Yes, the light designer, as we have got a message. Yes, difference after getting educated. We have witnessed the difference after getting educated. Thanks a lot. Yes. So viewers are, if you have any messages or any kind of queries that you want to ask, do you have any queries that you have to ask our guest? Okay.
I would also like to say that they can go to amanibirth.com and they can find our classes, they can find our books. They can also.
We have posted the link. We have posted the link in the description. So in the chat also, we will be posting it in the description as well. So don't worry, inshallah, if anybody wants to purchase or buy any or get in contact with Sister Aisha, you can do so. All the links will be shared.
We also have childbirth educators and doulas that we have trained in your country. So we have people on the ground in your country. You know,
oh, that's really nice.
So there are people that can reach out that come from your community, that come from your culture, that can actually relate to you. I'm American, so you know I don't live your culture, but we have people in your culture that have taken this workshop that understand, you know, how to support mothers in your own communities. So you can work with people from your own community.
That would resonate really well because people are not resonating with the West much.
Yeah, exactly.
That's nice.
Exactly. And in fact, we have the AMANI Birth classes coming out very soon in Urdu, and we have another team that wants to work on, is it Mangalore? Am I saying that right? So I know that we have Urdu coming for sure, Mangalore possibly coming behind that. So we do have some, not yet, but we're working on getting those languages ready for you as well.
I am from Mangalore, so do include me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let me know if you want to volunteer on the translation team. They could probably use help.
Yeah, sure, inshallah. So with this, we would like to conclude this particular session. Inshallah, any queries, do let us know in the chat, and we will be there to help you out. So,
yeah,
Jazakallah, thanks for all. Yes,
thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, Salam alaikum.
Thank you so much, Aisha.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you for coming.